today. Sorry, got a message. Ryan should be recording, so thank you, Ryan. There we go. Now, please correct me if I pronounce your name wrong, Dr. Ahou Skibba. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Dr. Ahou Skibba from the University of Tennessee Student Counseling Center. She is a licensed clinical psychologist and health service provider. She got her PhD from the University of Denver and works at the UT Counseling Center with a specialty in trauma. Prior to coming to UT and joining the UTK team, she worked at the VA hospital, the University of Colorado at Denver, University of Colorado at Boulder, University of Denver, and she has been a community mental health at a community mental health center in Los Angeles. So thank you so much for joining us and for giving us this talk. I think it's going to be very beneficial to all of us in this really trying time. So thanks a lot, and I'll be back at the end.
Okay, perfect. I just want to say hello to everyone. These are definitely unusual times. I'm sitting in a room. This is kind of our office in the house, and I have kids downstairs, so you might hear an occasional scream here and there. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. But for now, I'm hoping TV and cartoon will keep him quiet. I'm going to talk a little about anxiety today. I'm not sure how many minutes we have. I thought maybe we have an hour, and then I found out that maybe it's only a 45-minute session. I'm going to, so the way I'm going to have this presentation, I'm going to share my desktop, what I have on my screen, which is a PowerPoint presentation. So you see that for most of your screen, and then you'll see me in the top corner of your screen. I'll go through the anxiety, the symptoms, and then I'll talk about, Anne had some question. I'm just going to read off the list. She wanted me to talk about anxiety with the COVID-19 and what's going on, and also about just anxiety in general with graduate students. And then some of you had question about what if a friend or a colleague or a peer shows signs of anxiety and depression or mania, what do you do, how you can reach out to them and get help. So these are all the topics that I will cover. I'm going to start, let me see if I can figure this out, share my screen, PowerPoint, this. Okay, so we're gonna start with this. The difference between, I don't know if you guys see this little black line here. It's kind of blocking my view. There we go. Okay, so the difference between fear and anxiety, and I kind of use those two cartoons because I think fear is normal. We all go through fears that we have, you know, fear of dog, maybe lightning. These are normal, and actually they help us. It's basically a survival of fetus. If we have, you know, back in the, you know, caveman age, when people were afraid of big mammals, it was very healthy because it kept them safe and alive. So I think fear of running through a red light, for example, is very safe. It's going to keep us from getting into a car accident. Anxiety, on the other hand, it's different from fear. It's kind of exaggerated fear. It's a fear that you cannot measure in time and space. It's nothing that it's substance. You don't have, you don't know exactly where it's coming from. And anxiety usually goes back to our experiences, our early experiences. For example, as a child, you might have been walking down the street or playing in the playground, and the dog attacks you. So then that fear becomes embedded, and it turns into anxious feeling later on as an adult. So now when you hear a dog bark at a distance, all of a sudden you feel your body's tensing up, you feel like someone's going to attack you, you freeze up. That is something that it's not probably as healthy, because the dog could be, you know, miles and miles away from you. If you just hear that, and then the automatic thought is, oh my God, I'm going to get attacked. My life is in danger. I need to survive. So I just wanted to kind of mention that there's a difference between fear and anxiety. Fear, I think it's very normal. It keeps us healthy and safe. Anxiety, on the other hand, it's immobilizing. It freezes us. It doesn't, it's not very healthy. So there is definitely a difference between fear and anxiety. Next slide, if I can figure out how to go there. All right, symptoms. Symptoms of anxiety. As you can see on the screen, these are all symptoms of some of them you might know: irritability, agitation, restlessness. But some symptoms that people may not know, it's when you don't, when there's a change in appetite, when you feel either more hungry or less hungry, when you can't sleep well, when you have difficulty concentrating. All of these can be symptoms of anxiety. And I'm sure many of you going to graduate program, you look at that list and like, well, that fits me. I have problem falling asleep. I'm anxious most of the time. I have difficulty concentrating. And that's something that, could very well be anxiety in you. So being aware of those symptoms is important. Panic attack. Now, let me go back on this slide again. So with these symptoms of anxiety, these are some things that you can feel it in your body. It doesn't feel comfortable, but you can still move on. You can still attend your classes. You can still have social meetings. You can have your normal life, granted uncomfortably, but you can still go on with your everyday living. Now, when it becomes a panic attack, now panic attack, it's more of a severe anxiety. It's when people feel, some people have described it to me as having a heart attack. So they feel their muscle not only tenses, they feel like their temperature is rising, they feel their heart is pacing very hard, they can't breathe, they feel pressure on their chest, and they feel like it literally feels like a heart attack, that they're dying. It's very legit, it's very true, it's actually a DSM diagnosis, and it is extremely uncomfortable. I know personally myself, I have experienced short panic attacks in a sense that, and I don't know, some of you can relate to this. In the middle of the night, I wake up sometimes. That was mainly when I was in graduate program, getting married at the same time, trying to get my doctoral degree was very hard. And I would wake up in the middle of the night feeling that I can't breathe. And I had all these thoughts of, oh no, I have to defend my dissertation in a few months, getting married in Los Angeles while I was studying in Denver. And we were trying to figure out, buying a house. And it was just a whole lot of things in my load that it was just causing me a lot of anxiety. So I would wake up as a result, feeling panic. So if you wake up in the middle of the night feeling like you can't sleep or you can't breathe, that is normal. That will give you a little sense of what panic attack can feel like. Now, if you multiply that by 10, that's what panic attack is. Panic attack at the moment feels like you're actually going to die. It's the feeling is real, but nothing will happen to your body. You will actually not have a heart attack. You can actually breathe. The word is not going to come to an end. You might feel dizzy or nauseous, but you are not going to die. Most of the time when people have panic attack and they come to see me and they say, I experience this, once a week, which is a lot. I have them not only evaluated for, medication, but we do breathing exercise, relaxation exercise. I tell them you need to sit up in bed when you feel like that, or wherever you are, have a cold glass of water with you at all times. I usually carry a Contigo water bottle, stainless steel, and it's full of ice and water. Just have something cold by your bedside, or if you're going to give a presentation, or you're going to give a talk, or studying for exam, carry water bottles with you. I remember when I was taking my GRE and later on my licensing exam, I would ask them if I can bring a water bottle. I know for GRE they allowed me, but when I was taking my licensing exam EPPP, they said you cannot bring anything with you, and that was a 5-hour straight exam. And I was, I was getting stressed. My mouth was feeling dry, and I couldn't do anything about it. So it's nice if you can ask your professor if you're giving a talk or presentation or a Zoom meeting, if you can have some cold water with you. That will really help with any symptom of anxiety or panic attack. But as you can see on your screen, these are all the symptoms. Again, most people fear that they're going to die, and I want to point out that nothing will physically happen to you. The feeling is very uncomfortable. So what do we do with anxiety or panic attack or stress in general? I think the first thing is to be aware of our symptoms and aware of what's going on. We already talked about symptoms. And now awareness, I think it's awareness in general about our whole life situation. The first thing that I have is that given the fact that we're in very strange times right now, COVID-19, I think being aware that you will feel more anxious right now. You will have more stress, and it's very normal. It's a normal, I think the anxiety in this situation, it's a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. So, and you kind of can take that a little bit further and think about, taking a big exam or giving a presentation, that all of those, a little anxiety is normal, or a little stress, I should say, is normal, because it's a normal reaction to something that is unusual, because we usually don't give huge talks in front of people, or we don't, every day take exams. So those are normal, kind of putting things in perspective. Now it becomes abnormal if that anxiety prevents you from showing up to that meeting or taking a test, or all of a sudden when you're sitting in front of the paper or your computer, all of a sudden your mind completely blanks out and you cannot think of the answers or what you're going to say. Then I would say that becomes kind of abnormal, and we need to look into it and figure out ways how we can handle our anxiety and bring it down so we can actually concentrate. Unresolved conflict is the next one. And that can be anything from interpersonal relationships, a relationship with our coworker, friends. If someone has some issues with their family, with their significant other, with their parents, with colleague, with their advisor, professor, any of those can play into our anxiety. That will actually increase our anxiety. Again, let's talk about tests. Let's talk about graduate school. You have papers due, you have projects due. And you have to do all these work, but then all of a sudden you think about what your professor said, maybe the comment he made about your last paper or last project you did, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, he's going to criticize me again for whatever I'm doing. Or you recently got in a huge argument with your significant other, or you had a fallout from your with your family. So all of those can increase our anxieties. To kind of be aware of that. Trauma, that's anything from, I think COVID-19 in this situation can be a bit traumatic for people. This is a new norm. We're supposed to keep our distance, social distancing. And I think that's, in a way, it's kind of traumatic for some people to stay alone, to stay in their apartment or their dorm, wherever they are by themselves, perhaps with a roommate or not. But I know for my kids, it has been a bit traumatic because we haven't really talked about the actual COVID-19 and what it means, because I don't want to scare them, but they definitely do realize there's a difference. They say, libraries are closed, parks and playgrounds are closed, and all their classes that they've been taking, gymnastics, martial arts, swimming, everything's closed. They don't go to school anymore, which they're actually happy about that. But now they realize that there is something wrong, and now you guys are definitely know that there's something wrong. So trauma can be that. Trauma can be, something that happened in the past in your childhood. It could be a sexual, physical, emotional abuse. It can be a recent trauma. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, I hear a lot of our Asian American students, some of them, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of them have complained about the fact that people are not as nice to them, and they have been receiving hateful emails. They have been asked to leave the apartment or go back home. I think these come from a very insensitive and ignorant place, and they tend to hurt people. So being aware of that, and that actually is a trauma. It's a form of trauma. Triggers. Earlier, I talked about the story of the dog that, as a child, maybe a dog attacked you, and now as an adult, every time you hear a dog barking, that triggers something. Some people, actually had a client that was in a car accident a few years ago. And now anytime that she hears the screech of a brake or changing of light, actually really scares her. Yellow light kind of freezes her, because the accident happened at the intersection when there was a yellow light. And so being aware of your triggers could be a voice of someone, a particular smell can be a trigger. For example, if the trauma or the anxiety happened in a certain room, let's say your spouse was cooking and you guys got in an argument, the argument led to physical abuse, now that a smell would trigger anxiety. So being aware of all of that. And then one thing that I do with my clients when they come, we talk about the costs and benefits of anxiety. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's beneficial to have some levels of anxiety and fear. I think it helps us to keep us safe. But again, we kind of have to see what happens when we cross that threshold, when it actually becomes abnormal, when it prevents us from moving on. And this is something that each person can do individually. You guys can decide whether this feeling that you're having, this is stress, is a normal reaction to this situation? Is it preventing you from going on and continuing with your graduate program, or it's actually hindering things? And so that's one thing that I do with my clients. And then I put irrational and unrealistic worry because there are times that our anxiety stems from irrational, unrealistic things. For example, again, I use clients because these are all fresh in my mind. I have a client that is super anxious about COVID-19. There hasn't been actually any evidence of that. If you wear a mask, if you're a healthy person, that's going to prevent that. Or if you wear gloves. They do talk about hand washing and getting the germ off your hand, but as long as you're not touching your face, you should be okay, right? But this client, his anxiety is so severe that he goes out with full protection, mask, glove, he covers his hair, he wears a kind of a huge poncho when he goes out, and he comes home, he takes it off in the garage, immediately goes to the shower. And this has also prevented him when he goes out. He has been giving, people kind of look at him dirty. He has been asked to leave, I think it was Walmart last week, because he came into a store and that caused panic to people that were working at the store and shoppers, and the security asked him to leave. So kind of thinking about that is what I'm doing, is it realistic? Is it unrealistic? Is it rational or irrational? So this is something that I also do with my clients when they come to see me. We talk about their anxiety and their fears and whether there is any basis for that. My next slide. Self-care. I love this. I think that we all need self-care. I know as a therapist, I do. I'm not immune to that. I'm not immune to anxiety or depression. I think self-care is huge. It's huge for everyone. It's huge, especially in this time of coronavirus, where everybody's just cooped up in a house, and we're doing this meeting online. Everybody's sitting at their safety of their house, away from each other. And I think that can, as I'm sure most of you are aware of, not being around your peers, your classmates, your friends, can create some anxiety. When we are with other people, our anxiety can dissipate. We can feel safer in some ways. But yet when we are cornered, when we are alone by ourselves, we can think about all these negative thoughts and all these images that are not really real. Or so I think in some ways, and I'm glad we are doing social distancing. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I wonder if this is really playing into our anxiety in this time. I've heard from many people in the past couple of weeks that they are feeling more anxious sitting by themselves at home, because if they had a chance to talk to their friends, to talk to their spouse, to kind of rationalize things, or to talk to someone and say, yeah, I went shopping and nothing happened to me, and I have, and I just, things are normal and I can breathe. But we don't have that. So this slide for me, it's very important, because I want you guys to be aware that self-care comes not just in this time, but anytime, right before final, right after final, during Christmas break, when, spring break, any time of the year. I think I want you guys to be aware that you need to take care of yourself. There's something that I tell my client when they come in. When you go to airport, when you're riding an airplane, they ask you, they tell you, the flight attendant come in and they give you a presentation. They say, put your oxygen mask first before you can put it on, you know, your spouse or your child. And I always thought, before I was a mom, I thought that was very strange. You know, if you know something happens, I want to put the oxygen mask immediately on my son or my daughter before I put it on myself. But then after I became a mom, I realized that's not, you know, that's not true, because if I can't put the oxygen mask on myself, I can faint. And if I faint, then my children will also faint and die. But if I put the mask immediately on myself, I'm capable of actually helping them. So this is something that I want you two guys to take with you. One of the questions that Anne asked was that, what can we do when one of your peers or coworker or classmate is feeling anxious, depressed? And before reaching out to help them, I want to make sure that you guys are doing okay. You can look at yourself individually and say, am I doing okay with this? Am I okay with reaching out? Is this causing me anxiety? I want you to take care of, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help someone else. One of the things on my list, the first thing is regular exercise. I tell everyone, instead of, my first choice is not medication for anxiety or depression or other things. My first choice is exercise, 20 to 30 minutes a day. And it doesn't have to be, you know, going on a treadmill and running and weightlifting, none of that. It can be just brisk walks, just you know, just take a walk in, you know, your neighborhood. Even if it's a rainy day, put on your rain boots, grab an umbrella, go for a walk. Walking, exercise in general, is a natural antidepressant and anti-anxiety. Many people don't know that, or they don't believe it. As a psychologist, that's one of the things, the first thing we suggest to our patients, our clients. I have friends that are psychiatrists, and that's one of the first things they suggest to before they go the route of medication. It naturally releases endorphins in our body and our brain, and it just makes us feel better. It decreases both anxiety and depression. Sleep hygiene, it's extremely important. People, when they feel anxious, they have a hard time falling asleep because, you know, all these worries and thoughts are attacking them. So I think sleep is huge. When we have it, it's kind of like a vicious cycle. If you are anxious, you're not going to sleep, and if you don't sleep, lack of sleep increases anxiety. It goes hand in hand. If you want to decrease your anxiety, you have to increase your sleep. But it's so hard, right? How do we do that? I think one of the things that's super important, that you have a set time that every night you go to bed, and a set time that you wake up in the morning. So think about it. If you guys go to bed every day at 10 p.m. Or 11, whatever time it is, 9, make a chart for yourself and say, you know, or alarm in your calendar, in your phone calendar, that beeps and says, this is, you know, get ready for bedtime. I want you guys to go to bed at the same time, and I want you to wake up at the same time. So put an alarm for yourself, wake up at 7, 8, 9, whatever time it is. Make sure that you give yourself at least 8 hours, but not more than 9. So between 8 and 9, I think it's good. Or some people can maybe survive with 7, so we can say between 7 and 9. But put an alarm clock. The reason it's important to go to bed at the same time and wake up, it's because we're training our body, our mind, actually, our brain, that this is a set this is a routine for me, because the sleep happens in cycles. We go through all these different cycles, our REM, and we go in and out of deep sleep. And believe it or not, and I can't really remember what the fractions of time are, but our brain is kind of works in a, how do I say it, in an interval. So if we go to bed, like for example, if we go to bed at 10 every night and wake up at 7, our brain goes to the REM and deep sleep at the same time every night. Now, if one night you go to bed at 2 p.m., then your brain all of a sudden is off balance and doesn't know when to start REM or not. It's super important that for us to have a deep sleep. So anytime that you go off your routine of your sleep, let's say you're partying one night, you will feel it the next day. It will take you, I think the biology was that it will take you at least 72 hours for your brain to readjust itself. Now, imagine as graduate students, you probably had have a lot of, lack of sleep or irregularity in your sleep. You go to bed whenever you can, you wake up whenever you can, and that will increase your anxiety because now your brain is off balance. It doesn't know what it's doing, doesn't have any regular routine for sleep. It's confused. So it will in turn confuse you. So I think it's super important. There are foods to avoid before going to sleep. That's part of the sleep hygiene. Avoid fatty foods. Avoid food that are super spicy. You can have your fatty meal. You can have your, cookout. I love cookout. But you can have it in morning or for lunch. But try to avoid it a few hours before to bed. There are few foods, and I probably should have added to this slide. I had it in food slide presentation. But there are foods that have been proven that they've done a study on it that has been proven to increase relaxation and decrease anxiety. They're berries, so blueberry, almond, banana, avocado, turkey, milk, especially if it's warm, honey, and I think it was oatmeal. So these are the food that are really good. So if you can maybe incorporate one of, some of those food in your diet before bedtime, that can help you. There's an old saying that, have a warm glass of milk before bed. Well, actually the enzymes in milk and the enzyme in turkey will help you fall asleep. So that's one of the most relaxing food out there. That's my little pet peeve about food. Support network. This is one of the most important thing, I think. If you can't get regular exercise, if your sleep is kind of off balance, if food, you just grab a bag of chips before bedtime because you're hungry and there's nothing else in the home, that's all fine for a few days. It won't really hurt you as much as long as you're not doing it in the long run. But if you don't have a good solid social support, all of these can fall down. I think when you feel, for all of us, when we feel anxious, depressed, anything, any range of emotion, angry, if we have a support network, if we know there is someone out there that cares for us, we can pick up the phone and call that person or text that person and just hear their voice or read their warm text. That will make us feel a lot better. Humans as a society, we survive on interaction, social interactions with others. We survive on, smiles and highs and hugs. And with COVID-19, this is not happening. We cannot get, within 6 feet of someone outside of our immediate family. So I think it's very extremely important for you guys at this time to make sure that you get in line. Sign up for a Facebook account or Twitter if you don't have it. Connect with people. Pick up the phone and make a phone call. Reach out to a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time. Just, simple, hey, hi, I was just wondering how things are going. I think it's super important to feel connected. I think it becomes very dangerous when we isolate ourselves and we don't reach out to other people. You can reach out to your advisor. You can reach out to a classmate or a professor for anything. You can ask them, just email your professor and say, by the way, I have a problem with this. Can you help me? Any kind of social interaction, I think it's great. I worry for people that isolate themselves. I worry for people that don't reach out and don't answer their phone calls and don't answer their email. That's when we actually have to call someone to do a well check on them and make sure that things are going well and they're safe. So that's about social network. So my next slide is about relaxation. With anxiety, I get a lot of questions. How do I relax? How do I combat this feeling that I'm, the butterflies in my stomach? And some of the simplest way, beside exercise, regular sleep, food intake, I think it's relaxation. Doing just like you do 20 minutes or 30 minutes walk a day, I want you to try to do 20 to 30 minutes of relaxation at home. Deep breathing is one of them. So I'm just going to demonstrate some of these very quickly for you. So for deep breathing, what I like to do usually, I like to close my eyes and I take a deep breath in. I hold it as long as I can and I slowly let it out. I take a deep breath through my nose and I let it out through my mouth. It's important to do that. Also, what I do as I'm breathing in, I imagine a balloon. I imagine that my stomach is a balloon, that it's flat, and am I breathing in? I'm inflating the balloon. I try to inflate it as big as I can, and then as I'm breathing out, I try to deflate the balloon as gently as I can. I usually give my balloon a color. You can give it any color you like: pink, purple, turquoise, whatever color you want. And the reason behind this is because most people, when they try to meditate or they try to relax or do deep breathing, their thoughts wander, and actually becoming relaxed, they become more anxious. The reason I ask you to think about the balloon, because I'm giving your mind something to do, something to be busy with. So you don't wonder about COVID-19. You don't wonder about the grade. You don't wonder about the argument you had with your significant other. So breathe in, breathe out. And I want you to do that as slowly as possible and hold the breath in as long as you can. So if you do that 10 times, you can totally feel your body getting more relaxed. You can do that in the morning when you wake up. You can do it before bed. I think that's a great idea. And other things I do, it's using hands. This is something that I do with my son who's 6, but I think it's a great idea. Especially, well, right now, perhaps with COVID-19, you guys are sitting home, but let's say come fall and you're sitting in a lecture and you're feeling anxious while you're sitting in your lecture. There's nothing you can do. You can't get up and leave because this is an important thing. You don't want to upset your professor. You don't want to draw attention to yourself. What do you do in class when you're feeling anxious? I want you to kind of hold your hand under the table, but I'm not going to hold my hand under the table. I'm going to show you. And I want you to do, these are heels up and these are heels down. So I want you to breathe. So we breathe in, we breathe in, out, in, out, in, out. This is something you can do under the table. It's very conspicuous. Nobody will know. You don't have to count. You don't have to do it out loud, the breathing, but do that and do it for each hand, maybe 5 times for each hand, right hand, left hand. And by the time you're done, you feel your body relax a little more. So you don't have to run away from that class. Progressive muscle relaxation. That's something that, you can definitely do at home too. That's something that you can start from your toes all the way to, to your head, to your eyebrows, or your eyes. And what you do is, I like to usually tell people to lie down, but sometimes I practice it in the session, in the room with my client. So the way to do the progressive muscle relaxation is you hold each body part, you hold it very tight, and then you slowly release it. So you start with your toe, you curl your toes tight, and then you release it. You try to hold your calf muscle, your thighs, your buttocks, your stomach, your chest, and then you move to your shoulders, arms, fingers, and then you move to your jaws, your lips, your nose by breathing hard, your eyes, shutting it hard, and then letting go. You do that, and then by the time you get to your eyes, you feel so much better. I feel like in some ways, progressive muscle relaxation works the fastest, at least for me and some of my clients. You can see the result super quick. You can try it tonight. It might take you twice to go to your body, but usually people by the first time or second time, they're very relaxed. Again, this is something that you perhaps can do in class. Your professor might ask you why you're closing your eyes very tight if something is wrong, but it's something you can try. Definitely try it at home. Guided imagery. I love that one. It's kind of meditation, but you don't have to clear your mind and not think about anything, because for me personally, I am not able to do meditations. I do guided meditation, and guided meditation is where you listen to a calm voice walking you through what you need to do. Usually it's a scenery. They ask you to close your eyes, take a deep breath. They might do some muscle relaxation with you to get you ready. And then they ask you, imagine yourself in a beach. Imagine you're doing, picking up shell. Look at the shell. All of these will help you relax. We actually have a resource for that, which brings me to my next page. Resources. I think I wrote the first resource as a student counseling centers because where I work, we're still up and operational. Everybody, all my colleagues and I, we work from home, but the phone number is still there. You can call, someone will answer. They send a message to us and we'll contact you directly to set up an appointment for you. So you can reach out to us. We're there for you. I think we had a staff meeting today and I believe there was at least 25 the staff. So there's there's plenty of people that can help you. This the phone number for student counseling center, I should know that, but it's on the website. If you I apologize for not having this ready, but if you Google Student Counseling Center, there's a phone number. Call that number and you will get connected to someone who will get you in touch with one of the therapists. The other resource that I have there under the student counseling, it's Ahou. It's an amazing, great resource. I love that. It's something that other people have to pay for, but for UT students, for all UT students, faculty, and staff, it's free. All you have to do is go into that website and type in your UT email address and sign up for the resources. And the way to reach that website is actually through a student counseling center. So if you log into our website, the Student Counseling Center, go to resources. Under resources, go to online resources, and you see there's the tab for the TAO, for the therapy assistant online. Again, sign up for it. The resources there are available are about anxiety, depression. They do have guided imagery. So these are links that you can click on. You can read the PowerPoint presentation, listen to people, do follow guided imagery. They have mindfulness exercises. It's amazing. I love that. The other two places, I'm not sure if they're operational right now, but you can reach out to them definitely once the COVID-19 is over. UT Psychological Clinic and the Counseling Training Clinic are also seeing, students and faculty through campus. Class offers. It's a resource on campus that offers testing. Let's say you have been struggling with academics and you find yourself that perhaps math is not your subject, or you have your struggle with reading and you think there's something going on more than usual. You reach out to class. They can do learning assessment for you. And based on that, the campus may be able to offer you accommodation. One thing that I did when I was working at CU Boulder and Denver, I did a lot of ADHD testing and learning disability. That's what class does. And graduate students, got a lot of graduate students that would come in and say, I struggled, in high school and junior high and a bit on undergraduate classes, but now I'm really struggling. I cannot bring myself to finish my dissertation. I cannot bring myself to do my project. I need more structure and I can't do this. And we would do a whole complete learning disability assessment, and we figure out their weaknesses. Maybe it was reading, maybe it was concentration. And then based on that, they would receive accommodation, time and a half on testing, assignments to take home instead of sitting in a class and taking exam. Extended time to return assignment. Now, I'm not saying that you will automatically get all of those, but if you feel like you're struggling in certain subject and you've noticed a pattern or a history of that, I highly recommend that you reach out to class for that kind of service and accommodation. It will make your life so much easier. The last one that I put in there, I put that last on purpose because I think it's the most helpful one, 974-HELP. It's our crisis number. It's the number, it's the to-go number, I think, for UT students and faculty. It's a number that I recommend to everyone. We're here for you guys Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. But before 8 a.m. or after hours, after 5 p.m., whenever you guys call the counseling center, the 974-HELP picks up. They are extremely resourceful. I know they are part of Dean of Students, and some people are afraid that it might go on their record, it might prevent them from receiving their grant or scholarship. And I tell them, I reassure them that this won't happen. The ladies that work there are extremely professional, and nothing will go to your record. Things are very confidential. They're there to help you achieve your goal. They're there to help you graduate. So for example, if you don't have enough food, if you're struggling with money right now, let's say you've lost your job, or you have a hard time paying for something, they can actually provide free meals to you. Housing, they cannot physically provide housing, but they can get you in touch with, housing at the lower rate. For people that are struggling, they can definitely help you find that. They can get you in touch with financial aid office. They can talk to your advisors. They can talk to your professors. I think it's extremely resourceful place, and I would highly recommend that. Now, one of the things that Anne had asked was, what do you guys do when you see that one of your friends or colleague is experiencing anxiety, and they are, you don't know what to do, they're depressed or anxious, and you want to reach out to them? I would say, give them that number. Tell them that you want them to call 974 help, because that's the first place they can start. They will connect them with resources. They can call them, and if 974 helps thinks that they need individual psychotherapy, they will reach out to us. They will have the student reach out to us. You can have the student reach out to us directly too, if you think that will help. But I think 974 help is the very good place to go, because maybe the stress is about finances or housing. So I think that would be a good place to go. That's one place to start with. I also want you to be aware that it depends. If the anxiety, if you're noticing something during regular academic year where you're in class, I think there's more resources available on campus. But now during COVID-19, what do we do? Because now you're talking to someone, over the Zoom, and you feel like that person has not attended their Zoom meeting, or they have not responded to their emails. That can look different with this situation. So in that case, I would suggest that, maybe if you know their phone number, maybe give them a call and say, I was worried about you. I was wondering if, you can give me a call and let me know that things are okay. Don't push it too hard. They might just need some time to be by themselves, but it's always good to reach out to someone via text, via email. I haven't seen you in the Zoom meetings. I'm wondering what's going on. Do you mind calling me back or texting me back, letting me know that you're okay? If you haven't heard back from that person, you can reach out to your advisor and ask them and say, or your professor, and say, hey, I'm worried about this person. They haven't returned my phone call or something. I think these are all the steps that you can do for now. You can, I know actually I spoke with a student yesterday who was concerned for someone. You can call us and say that you are concerned about someone, and we can talk you through, what's going on and figure things out. So our center is not just open for the client itself, but if someone is worried about someone else. So you can reach out to us and say, I want to talk to a therapist because I'm worried about my colleague, my coworker, my friend, whoever it is. You can totally do that. Another question, I'm trying to look at the list of questions. Just in general, I would say with graduate program, I think graduate school is anxiety provoking. You are expected to be independent, and the workload is a lot. You're expected to do a lot of things. You're expected to multitask. You're expected to be adults and students at the same time, to care for other people by, running labs, grading undergraduate paper, and turning your own work in. You're expected to perhaps teach classes for undergrad level and take care of them. I think with all of that, it's very important to take the time and do some self-care, to say, okay, this is making me too anxious. I cannot work on my own project and teach a class and grade paper and do all of that. So maybe reach out to your advisors. That's what academic advisors are for. They're here to help you. So you can reach out and say, this is too much. Maybe I need to look into dropping a load. Maybe I can teach this lab. And it's totally okay, especially in this time during COVID-19. if you're feeling anxious, if you feel like the workload is too much, it's important to reach out to your advisor or your professor and let them know. They're here to help you, and they know that these are unusual times. You have your own stuff to deal with. Maybe you need to find new housing. Maybe you need to find a new roommate because they moved back home and now all of a sudden you're left paying this huge rent amount. Maybe you're struggling with depression or anxiety yourself. So it's important to reach out to people, to reach out to Student Counseling Center, 974 HELP, your professor, your advisor. People are here to help you. I think you need to realize that you're not alone in this, that one of the things we talked about was social support network. I think it's important to reach out to increase your support network, to cast your net and just reach out to as many people as you can. There is no shame in it. I know I did it when I was a graduate student going through my doctoral program at Denver. As I said, I was getting married in Los Angeles, planned it for this. Then we didn't have a lot of money. My fiance back then, my husband, and we were figuring everything out. I had to defend my dissertation because I was going back to Los Angeles for a year before I did my internship at Boulder. And at that year, I think my husband was also applying for residency. And we didn't know where we're going to end up because it was a match system. It was very anxiety provoking for me. And I was working almost full time, and I was seeing clients because part of our program was to see clients on almost daily basis. So I reached out to my advisor and I said, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can graduate on time with everything. And he just told me matter of factly that I need to drop working full time. This is not advisable, that I need to concentrate. I'm here to get my doctoral degree and move on. And this should be my first goal, which I actually cut down significantly on my work hour. But reaching out to someone, I guess I'm trying to tell you that story, it's super important. We all need it. I still reach out to my colleagues. If, we had a meeting this morning, we had a meeting last week, and we talk about our own anxieties and our own difficulties with, maybe providing sessions through Zoom or over the phone. And we learn from each other. We reach out to each other. I talk to my husband on a daily basis about, I'm getting anxious with, this is too much for me to deal, see client at home, work at home, and try to keep my kids quiet in the background so I can actually have a session and keep it professional. So these are all real. This is a new norm for us. We just have to navigate our time and ourselves to figure things out. It's totally okay to reach out to other people. It's totally okay to cry. And I'm just giving you the permission to be yourself, to feel your feelings, but know that you are not alone. There are people and resources on campus that are here to help you. I think that was the I think that was the end of my presentation. And let me see if I can go back. Okay, there we go. I had told people that I can open up to questions and answers at the end of the session. If there's any question, feel free to chat with me down here. I can answer you. I will also, maybe if I can write this, I can also share with you my email address, which is askibba1@utk.edu. I don't know if everybody can see that, but this is my email address. If any of you guys have any question, if you have any concern, you can email me, and then we can figure things out together. Again, you're not alone. There's many resources available out there. So I hope you guys use it. So I'm just opening up for any question. I can't hear anyone else. I think you guys are muted out, but if you guys have any question, go ahead and type it out. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, go ahead and type it out and I'll be more than happy to do that.
You can also unmute yourself if you want to speak about a question.
Okay, unmute myself and let someone else. Okay.
Well, other participants can unmute themselves.
Yeah, any questions, any concern? Is there anything else you guys want me to touch on? Something that I missed? No, wow, you guys are a quiet bunch. I was told yesterday that you guys are very quiet, and I believe that now. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this mini presentation. This was my first time actually doing Zoom. I wasn't used to it, but I got some help yesterday figuring things out. So thank you for Ryan, yay. I'll be more than happy if there's if Anne or anyone in this group feels like there's something that they want to learn more about, shoot me an email. Actually, I told our director today about this Zoom meeting, and he was very excited. We're trying to reach out to as many people on campus and help them in any way we can. So if there is anything you guys want us to cover, either now or in the future, just shoot us an email, shoot me an email, and I'll be more than happy to cover that.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm.
Yes, I can.
Oh, wonderful. So thank you so much for being here and for doing this. We really appreciate it. Students, if there are any follow-up questions, you have her email. You can email me. We can have another one in the future. But thank you so much. And everybody at Current, stay safe and healthy and 6 feet apart from everybody else. So, all right, have a great Wednesday, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.